The metal walls of Research Station Kepler 442 hummed with the steady rhythm of life support systems, but Dr. Elena Martinez could feel the subtle vibrations that meant something was wrong. She pushed herself through the narrow corridor using the handholds, her feet barely touching the deck plates in the weak artificial gravity. The station had been her home for 3 months now, floating in the empty space between stars, but today felt different. Elena reached the observation deck and pressed her face against the thick glass viewport. Outside, the blackness of space stretched endlessly in all directions, dotted with distant stars that looked like tiny diamonds scattered on black velvet. Somewhere out there in the asteroid belt, strange energy readings had been calling to them for weeks. The readings that had brought them to this forgotten corner of the galaxy were getting stronger each day. She heard footsteps behind her and turned to see Commander Jake Sullivan floating toward her. His military uniform was wrinkled and his face looked tired. Jake had been the station's security chief for 2 years, but Elena had never seen him look so worried before. He stopped beside her at the viewport and stared out into space. "Any word from Earth yet?" Elena asked, though she already knew the answer from the look on his face. Jake shook his head slowly. "Nothing. The communication array took heavy damage 2 weeks ago during that attack. We managed to get one distress beacon out before they cut our long-range transmitters, but I don't know if anyone received it." Elena remembered that terrible day when the unknown ships had appeared without warning. They had come out of nowhere, sleek vessels that moved like living things through space. The station's automated defenses had been useless against their advanced technology. Within minutes, their main communication dish was floating in pieces, and their long-range sensors were dead. "How are the others holding up?" she asked. Jake rubbed his forehead with one hand. "Dr. Kim says the power core will last maybe 10 more days if we keep running on emergency power only. The crew is scared, Elena. We have 12 people on this station, and everyone knows we're running out of time." Elena thought about her fellow researchers scattered throughout the station. Dr. Peter Kim was probably still working in the engineering section, trying to squeeze every last bit of power from their failing systems. The rest of her science team was likely in the laboratories, continuing their work despite everything. They were good people, dedicated scientists who had volunteered for this dangerous mission to the edge of known space. She turned back to the viewport and watched a chunk of space rock drift slowly past the station. The asteroid belt here was different from the ones near Earth. These rocks were older, colder, and they seemed to pulse with some kind of energy that their instruments could barely detect. That energy was what had brought them here in the first place, following signals that suggested something ancient and powerful was hidden among the asteroids. "Have you seen any more of those ships?" Elena asked. Jake nodded grimly. "They're still out there. At least 6 of them that I can count. Maybe more hiding behind the bigger asteroids. They patrol in patterns like they're searching for something. Every few hours one of them comes close enough to scan us, then moves away again." Elena shivered despite the warm air recycling through the station. The alien ships were unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. Their hulls seemed to flow and change shape like living tissue, and they moved through space with a grace that defied the laws of physics as humans understood them. Most disturbing of all, they had made no attempt to communicate, responding to all of Jake's radio messages with complete silence. "What do you think they want?" she asked. "I don't know," Jake replied. "But whatever it is, I don't think it's good for us." Elena pushed away from the viewport and floated toward the central corridor. The station felt smaller each day, like the walls were slowly closing in on them. With the communication systems damaged and their location known to hostile forces, they were completely cut off from the rest of humanity. Earth was 6 months away even with the fastest ships, and the nearest human colony was 4 months distant. If help was coming, it would not arrive soon. She made her way to the main laboratory where 3 of her team members were working. Dr. Lisa Brooks looked up from her computer terminal as Elena entered. Lisa was the station's xenobiology specialist, a brilliant scientist who had volunteered for this mission specifically to study the strange energy readings they had detected. "Any progress on understanding what we found out there?" Elena asked. Lisa turned her screen so Elena could see the data. "The energy patterns are definitely artificial, but they're old. Really old. I think whatever is generating these signals has been dormant for thousands of years. Maybe longer. Our arrival seems to have activated something." Elena studied the wave-like patterns on the screen. They pulsed with a regular rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. "Could this be what those alien ships are looking for?" "Maybe," Lisa said. The energy source is located deep inside the largest asteroid in the belt, about 50 kilometers from here. If there's some kind of ancient technology buried in that rock, it might be valuable enough to fight over. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. If the alien ships were here for the same reason as the human research team, then the situation was even more dangerous than she had thought. The aliens had already shown they were willing to use violence to protect whatever they were seeking. She left the laboratory and continued through the station, checking on the other crew members. In the medical bay, Dr. Alex Turner was treating 2 researchers who had developed stress-related symptoms. The confined space and constant fear were taking their toll on everyone aboard. "How are our supplies holding up?" Elena asked Alex. "Food will last another 3 weeks if we're careful," Alex replied. "But that's assuming we can keep the recycling systems running. If we lose life support, we'll have maybe 72 hours of breathable air." Elena nodded and continued her rounds. In the engineering section, she found Dr. Kim working frantically on a bank of control panels. Sweat dripped from his forehead despite the cool temperature, and his hands moved quickly over the controls. "Kim, how are we doing?" He looked up with exhausted eyes. "I've shut down all non-essential systems. Gravity generators are running at minimum power, and I've rerouted everything I can to life support. We're living on borrowed time, Elena. Every hour we delay the inevitable." Elena left Kim to his work and returned to the observation deck. Outside, the alien ships continued their patient patrol, moving like predators waiting for the right moment to strike. She pressed her hand against the cold glass and wondered if anyone back on Earth even knew they were missing yet. The distress beacon Jake had managed to transmit carried their location and a brief description of their situation. But space was vast and communication signals traveled slowly between the stars. Even if someone had received their call for help, rescue ships would take months to reach them. Elena closed her eyes and tried not to think about dying alone in the endless void of space, forgotten and unmourned. Somewhere out there, she hoped, someone was coming to answer their call. The alien ships had been circling the research station for 16 days now, and Chief Security Officer Lisa Brooks was beginning to understand their pattern. She sat in the darkened security office, watching the sensor displays with tired eyes as the strange vessels moved through space like sharks in deep water. Each ship followed a precise route that brought it within scanning range of different asteroids before returning to its starting position. Lisa had drawn their movements on paper. When the computer systems were shut down to save power, the pattern looked like a web spread across the entire asteroid belt, with the research station caught right in the center. Whatever the aliens were searching for, they were being very thorough about it. She heard soft footsteps in the corridor and turned to see Dr. Elena Martinez floating toward her workstation. Elena looked thinner than she had 2 weeks ago, and dark circles under her eyes showed how little sleep any of them were getting. The emergency lighting cast strange shadows on her face as she stopped beside Lisa's chair. "Any changes in their behavior?" Elena asked quietly. Lisa shook her head and pointed at her hand-drawn charts. "Same pattern every day. 6 ships that we can see, maybe more hiding behind the larger asteroids. They're definitely looking for something specific, but they haven't found it yet." Elena studied the patrol routes Lisa had mapped out. "Have they tried to board us or come closer than usual?" "No, but they're getting bolder," Lisa replied. "Yesterday, one of them came within 500 meters of our hull, close enough that I could see details on their ship through the telescope. The hull surface moves like it's alive, Elena. It ripples and shifts like water." Elena felt a chill run through her body. The alien technology was so far beyond human understanding that it might as well have been magic. Their ships moved without visible engines, turned without thrusters, and seemed to bend the laws of physics whenever they wanted to change direction. "Dr. Kim wants to see you in the engineering section," Elena said. "He says he found something important." Lisa saved her work and followed Elena through the station's narrow corridors. They moved carefully in the reduced gravity, using handholds to guide themselves past the sealed doors of unused sections. Commander Sullivan had ordered most of the station's compartments closed off to conserve heat and air. The crew of 12 now lived in just 4 connected rooms, huddled together like survivors of a shipwreck. They found Dr. Peter Kim hunched over a portable computer terminal in the main engineering bay. His usually neat hair was messy, and his uniform was stained with grease from the machinery he had been repairing by hand. When he looked up at them, his eyes were bright with excitement despite his exhausted appearance. I've been analyzing the energy readings from the asteroid belt, Kim said, turning his screen so they could see the data. Remember how we thought the signals were just random pulses? They're not random at all. Elena leaned closer to study the wave-like patterns on the display. What do you mean? Kim pointed at specific peaks in the energy readings. These pulses follow a mathematical sequence. They're getting stronger and more frequent, like something is waking up after a very long sleep. Our arrival in this system seems to have triggered some kind of activation process. Lisa felt her stomach tighten with worry. Are you saying we accidentally turned on some kind of alien machine? That's exactly what I'm saying, Kim replied. The energy source is buried deep inside the largest asteroid, about 40 kilometers from our current position. Based on these readings, I think it's been dormant for thousands of years, maybe longer. But when our ships arrived and started scanning the area, we somehow provided the power it needed to begin functioning again. Elena stared at the data, trying to understand what this meant for their situation. Could this be why those alien ships are here? Are they trying to find the same thing we accidentally activated? Kim nodded grimly. I think so. And I think they've been waiting for someone like us to come along and wake it up. We did their work for them. The three of them stood in silence for a moment, listening to the steady hum of the life support systems. Elena thought about the implications of Kim's discovery. If they had accidentally activated some kind of ancient alien technology, then they were not just trapped survivors anymore. They were sitting on top of something that other species were willing to kill for. We need to tell Commander Sullivan about this, Elena said. They found Jake Sullivan in the command center, staring at a tactical display that showed the positions of the alien patrol ships. He looked up as they entered, and Elena could see the weight of command pressing down on his shoulders. Keeping 12 people alive in a damaged space station while hostile aliens circled outside was not something they taught in military academy. Kim quickly explained his findings about the energy source and its connection to their arrival in the system. Jake listened without interruption, his face growing more serious with each detail. When Kim finished speaking, Jake sat back in his chair and rubbed his temples. So we're not just witnesses to whatever is happening here, Jake said. We're part of it. Those alien ships aren't just patrolling randomly. They're waiting for us to finish the job we started. Elena felt a cold fear settling in her chest. What do you think will happen when that energy source fully activates? Nothing good, Jake replied. If those ships wanted to communicate with us, they would have tried by now. Instead, they disabled our communications and trapped us here. They're planning something and they need us alive until whatever we woke up is fully operational. Lisa looked at the tactical display showing the alien ship positions. How long do we have? Kim checked his portable computer. Based on the rate of increase in the energy readings, maybe 5 or 6 days before the activation process completes. After that, I don't know what will happen. Jake stood up and began pacing the small command center. We need to assume the worst. When that ancient technology fully activates, those alien ships will probably move in to claim it, and they won't want any human witnesses left alive to report what they found here. Elena thought about their options, but every possibility seemed hopeless. They had no weapons capable of fighting the alien ships, no way to escape the system, and no method of calling for help. Their only hope was that someone on Earth had received Jake's distress beacon and was already sending rescue ships. But even the fastest human vessels would take months to reach them. How are the crew holding up? Jake asked. Dr. Turner says 2 more people are showing signs of stress-related illness, Elena replied. The confined space and constant fear are wearing everyone down. Food rationing is affecting morale and some people are starting to panic. Jake nodded. We need to keep everyone focused on their work. As long as we stay busy, we have something to hope for. Lisa, I want you to continue monitoring the alien ships and looking for weaknesses in their patrol pattern. Kim, keep tracking that energy source and let me know immediately if anything changes. Elena, check on the rest of the crew and make sure everyone understands how serious our situation is. As they prepared to leave the command center, the station's proximity alarms suddenly activated. Red warning lights flashed on the tactical display and Jake quickly checked the sensors. We have a new contact approaching from the edge of the system, he announced. Single ship moving fast. Different energy signature from the aliens. Lisa moved to the sensor station and began analyzing the incoming data. It's bigger than the alien vessels and the hull composition looks metallic rather than organic. Jake, I think this might be a human ship. Elena felt her heart racing with sudden hope. After 16 days of isolation and fear, the possibility of rescue seemed almost too good to believe. But as she watched the new contact moving steadily toward their position, she began to wonder if help had finally arrived, or if their situation was about to become even more dangerous. Captain Ryan Hayes stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the tactical display that showed 17 alien vessels arranged in complex patrol patterns throughout the asteroid belt. His heavy cruiser had been pushing its fusion drives at maximum power for 2 weeks, racing across the empty void between stars to answer a desperate distress call from the edge of human space. The bridge crew worked quietly around him, their faces lit by the blue glow of computer screens and status displays. Lieutenant Commander Sophie Grant sat at the tactical station, analyzing the strange energy signatures coming from the alien ships. Navigation Officer Ben Carter plotted courses through the asteroid field while Chief Engineer Kate Morrison monitored the ship's systems from her engineering console. Ryan had been commanding the Defiance for 3 years, fighting pirates and rebels in the outer colonies, but he had never encountered anything like this before. The alien vessels were unlike any ship design in human databases, their hulls seeming to flow and shift like living organisms. Their technology appeared to operate on principles that human science barely understood. "Report on the unknown vessels," Ryan ordered. Sophie looked up from her tactical display, her brown hair falling across her forehead as she studied the data. 17 confirmed contacts, Captain. They're maintaining patrol routes that cover the entire inner asteroid belt. Hull composition appears to be some kind of organic metal that changes shape at the molecular level. Energy signatures suggest power sources far beyond our current technology. Ryan nodded and moved to the central command chair. The Defiance was one of the newer ships in Earth's growing fleet, armed with railgun batteries, plasma torpedo launchers, and experimental shield generators. She was built for war, designed to protect human colonies from any threat the galaxy might produce. But looking at the alien formation ahead, Ryan wondered if his ship would be enough. "Any response to our communication attempts?" he asked. Communications Officer Linda Price shook her head. "Nothing, sir. I've been broadcasting on all frequencies for the past hour, including mathematical sequences and universal language protocols. The alien ships are not responding to any of our signals." Ryan studied the tactical display more carefully. The alien patrol pattern was clearly designed to prevent anyone from reaching the center of the asteroid belt, where the distress beacon had originated. Somewhere in that maze of floating rocks, fellow humans were waiting for rescue, and these alien ships were standing in his way. "Ben, how long until we reach the outer edge of their perimeter?" Ryan asked. The young navigation officer checked his calculations quickly. 14 minutes at current speed, Captain. But if we maintain this heading, we'll enter weapons range of at least 5 alien vessels simultaneously. Ryan considered his options. The Defiance could probably handle 5 alien ships in open combat, but the goal was rescue, not destruction. Every minute they spent fighting would be another minute that the trapped research team remained in danger. Still, the alien ships had already shown their hostile intentions by attacking the research station and cutting off their communications. "Kate, status report on all systems," Ryan ordered. Chief Engineer Morrison's voice came through the intercom from the engineering section. "All systems operating at peak efficiency, Captain. Fusion reactors are running at 98% output, shield generators are fully charged, and weapon systems are ready for combat. We can maintain maximum power for 6 hours before needing to reduce output." Ryan felt a grim satisfaction at his crew's professionalism. The men and women aboard the Defiance were veterans of the colonial wars, experienced in ship-to-ship combat and trained to handle impossible situations. If anyone could punch through an alien blockade and rescue the research team, it would be these people. "Sophie, analysis of alien weapon capabilities," Ryan said. Sophie called up new data on her screen. "Unknown, sir. We haven't seen them fire their weapons yet, but energy readings suggest they're using some form of coherent particle beam technology. Power levels are significantly higher than our own weapon systems, but we don't know their effective range or rate of fire." Ryan walked to the main view screen and stared out at the asteroid field ahead. Somewhere in that maze of rocks and ice, 12 human beings were counting on him to bring them home safely. The fact that alien ships were preventing the rescue only made him more determined to complete his mission. "All hands, this is the captain," Ryan announced over the ship's communication system. We are approaching a hostile alien formation that has trapped a human research team. Our mission is to rescue those people and bring them home safely. The aliens have already demonstrated their willingness to use violence against human civilians, so we will treat them as enemy combatants. Battle stations. The bridge lights dimmed to red as the crew prepared for combat. Weapon systems powered up with a low humming sound, and the shield generators created a faint shimmer around the ship's hull. Throughout the Defiance, 200 crew members took their positions at combat stations, ready to fight for the lives of people they had never met. "Captain, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command," Linda announced. Ryan moved to the communication station. "Put it through." Admiral Patricia Stone's face appeared on the screen, her expression serious but supportive. "Captain Hayes, you are authorized to use any force necessary to complete your rescue mission. Intelligence suggests these alien vessels may represent a new threat to human expansion in this sector. Document everything you can about their technology and tactics." "Understood, Admiral," Ryan replied. "We'll bring our people home." The transmission ended and Ryan returned to his command chair. The alien ships were now clearly visible on the main screen, their organic hulls reflecting the light of distant stars. They moved through space with an unnatural grace, turning and accelerating without any visible propulsion systems. "Contact bearing 270, range decreasing rapidly," Sophie reported. "3 alien vessels are moving to intercept our current course." Ryan watched the tactical display as the alien ships repositioned themselves. They were clearly intelligent and well coordinated, responding to the Defiance's approach with practiced precision. Whatever species controlled these vessels, they were experienced warriors who understood the basics of space combat. "Ben, adjust course to avoid direct confrontation for as long as possible," Ryan ordered. "I want to get as close to the research station as we can before we have to fight our way through." The Defiance altered course slightly, angling toward a gap between 2 large asteroids. The alien ships responded immediately, adjusting their own positions to close off possible escape routes. It was becoming clear that peaceful passage would not be possible. "Captain, I'm detecting the research station," Sophie announced. "Bearing 045, range 37 kilometers. The station appears to be powered down to minimal levels, but I'm reading life signs aboard." Ryan felt relief wash through him. After 2 weeks of racing across space, not knowing if they would arrive in time, the research team was still alive. Now he just had to figure out how to reach them through 17 alien warships. "All stations report ready for combat," Sophie announced. Ryan gripped the arms of his command chair and stared at the alien formation ahead. In a few minutes, humanity would make first contact with an alien species, and it would be with weapons fire rather than words of peace. But somewhere in the darkness ahead, fellow humans were waiting for rescue, and nothing would stop him from bringing them home. The first alien weapon struck the Defiance's forward shields like a bolt of blue lightning, sending shockwaves through the ship's hull that Ryan Hayes felt in his bones. The bridge lights flickered as power conduits overloaded, and warning alarms began sounding throughout the vessel. Lieutenant Commander Sophie Grant's fingers flew over her tactical controls as she returned fire immediately, sending a stream of railgun rounds racing through space at nearly the speed of light. The alien ships moved like dancers through the void, their organic hulls rippling and flowing as they dodged the human weapons with impossible grace. But human railguns were faster than any living creature could react, and Sophie's first volley punched through the lead alien vessel's hull in 3 places. The ship spun wildly before exploding in a burst of blue-white fire that lit up the asteroid field. "Direct hit on Target 1, Sophie announced with grim satisfaction. "Target destroyed." Ryan gripped his command chair as another alien beam weapon swept across their port shields, causing the generators to spark and smoke. "Damage report." Chief Engineer Kate Morrison's voice crackled through the intercom from deep in the ship's engineering section. "Forward shield generators are down to 60% power, Captain. I'm rerouting emergency power to compensate. But we can't take many more hits like that." The alien ships were incredibly fast and maneuverable, but they seemed surprised by the destructive power of human weapons. The remaining 4 vessels in the intercept group spread out into a wider formation, approaching the Defiance from multiple angles to divide the ship's fire. Their beam weapons charged with an eerie blue glow that made Ryan's skin crawl. "Ben, evasive maneuvers," Ryan ordered. "Sophie, target the closest ship and give me continuous fire." Navigation Officer Ben Carter's hands moved quickly over his controls, sending the Defiance into a spiraling dive that carried them between two massive asteroids. The alien ships followed, their beam weapons cutting through space where the human cruiser had been just seconds before. Chunks of rock exploded into glowing fragments as the alien fire struck the asteroid surfaces. Sophie locked her targeting systems onto the nearest alien vessel and unleashed a full spread of plasma torpedoes. The bright orange projectiles streaked through space, their fusion warheads leaving trails of superheated gas. Two of the torpedoes missed their target, but the third struck the alien ship's midsection and detonated in a brilliant flash that sent pieces of organic hull spinning away into the darkness. Second target is damaged, but still operational, Sophie reported. They're falling back to regroup with the main force. Ryan studied the tactical display as more alien ships moved to intercept their course toward the research station. The Defiance had proven that human weapons could hurt the aliens, but the numbers were still heavily against them. 17 ships against one was impossible odds by any measure, but Ryan had not come this far to give up now. "Kate, I need everything you can give me," Ryan called down to engineering. "Full power to weapons and shields." "You've got it, Captain," Kate replied. "But I can only maintain this output for maybe an hour before we start burning out critical systems." The next wave of alien attacks came from 6 ships approaching in a coordinated formation. Their beam weapons fired in sequence, creating a deadly crossfire that forced Ben to throw the Defiance into a series of violent turns that pushed the artificial gravity generators to their limits. Crew members throughout the ship held onto their stations as the vessel twisted and rolled through space. Ryan watched the research station growing larger on the main view screen, still 30 kilometers away, but clearly visible now as a small collection of metal modules clustered around a central hub. Emergency lighting flickered through the station's viewports, and he could see the damage from the alien attack 2 weeks ago. Sections of the outer hull were twisted and blackened, and the main communication array was completely destroyed. "Sophie, concentrate fire on the ships between us and the station," Ryan ordered. "We need to punch through their line." The Defiance's weapons spoke again, railgun rounds and plasma torpedoes reaching out across the void to strike at the alien vessels. The enemy ships were learning to dodge human fire, but Sophie was learning to predict their movements. Her next volley caught an alien cruiser as it tried to change direction, the railgun rounds tearing through its hull and sending it tumbling away, trailing atmosphere and debris. On the research station, Dr. Elena Martinez pressed her face against the observation deck viewport and watched the battle raging outside. The human warship was clearly outgunned, facing multiple alien vessels that attacked from all directions, but it never stopped moving forward. Every time the aliens seemed to have it trapped, the ship would find a new path through the asteroid field, its weapons never stopping their deadly fire. Commander Jake Sullivan stood beside her, counting the flashes of weapon fire and explosions that lit up the darkness. "That captain knows what he's doing," Jake said with admiration. "He's not trying to win the battle, just trying to reach us." The Defiance took another direct hit that sent a shower of sparks across the bridge. Smoke filled the air as damaged systems overloaded, and Ryan could smell the sharp odor of burning electronics. But his crew continued their work with professional calm, damage control teams racing to repair critical systems, while the weapons crews maintained their rate of fire. "Hull breach on Deck 7, Damage Control Chief Dan Murphy reported. "Emergency teams are sealing the compartment now." Ryan felt the deck plates vibrate under his feet as the ship's structure absorbed another alien beam attack. The Defiance was taking serious damage, but she was built for war and designed to take punishment. More importantly, her crew was trained to fight even when everything seemed hopeless. "Distance to research station?" Ryan asked. 18 kilometers in closing," Ben replied, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. "But we have 8 alien ships directly in our path." Ryan made a decision that would be studied in military academies for years to come. Instead of trying to fight his way through the alien formation with long-range weapons, he ordered a direct assault that would use the Defiance's superior mass and armor to break through their defensive line. "All ahead full," Ryan commanded. "Ramming speed. Sophie, prepare for close-range combat." The fusion drives roared to life, pushing the Defiance forward at maximum acceleration. The alien ships tried to scatter as the massive human cruiser bore down on them, but Ryan had chosen his target carefully. The gap between 2 alien vessels was just wide enough for his ship to pass through if he timed it perfectly. Plasma torpedoes streaked ahead of the charging cruiser, forcing the alien ships to dodge and creating the opening Ryan needed. The Defiance shot through the gap like a bullet, her hull scraping against floating debris as alien beam weapons lit up the space around her. "We're through their main line," Sophie announced with excitement. Research station dead ahead, but the alien ships were not finished yet. They regrouped quickly and began pursuing the damaged human cruiser, their weapons charging for another attack. Ryan knew that reaching the research station was only half the battle. Now he had to figure out how to rescue 12 people while fighting off an entire alien fleet. The Defiance's hull groaned, under the stress of combat as Captain Ryan Hayes brought his damaged cruiser alongside research station. Kepler 442, emergency. Lights flickered across the ship's scarred armor plating, and atmosphere vented from 3 separate hull breaches. But the vessel's weapons continued firing at the alien ships that circled like predators waiting for their moment to strike. Commander Jake Sullivan watched through the research station's viewport as the massive human warship maneuvered into docking position. The ship's hull was blackened and twisted from alien beam weapons, and he could see sections where the armor had been completely burned away. But the vessel still moved with purpose, its crew working with mechanical precision despite the damage they had sustained. "All research personnel to the docking bay immediately," Jake announced over the station's emergency communication system. "Prepare for emergency evacuation." Dr. Elena Martinez gathered her team's critical research data, while the other scientists collected their personal belongings and essential equipment. The ancient alien technology they had accidentally activated was still pulsing with increasing energy deep within the asteroid belt. But there was no time to study it further. Getting off the station alive was more important than any scientific discovery. On the Defiance's bridge, Lieutenant Commander Sophie Grant tracked 17 alien vessels as they repositioned themselves for a final assault. The enemy ships had learned from their earlier encounters with human weapons and were now approaching more cautiously, using the asteroid field for cover while they coordinated their attack. "Docking tube is secure," Navigation Officer Ben Carter reported. "We can begin evacuation procedures." Ryan felt the ship shudder as another alien beam weapon struck their port shields. The generators were barely functioning now, and Chief Engineer Kate Morrison had warned him that they could not sustain much more damage. Every minute they remained stationary was another chance for the aliens to concentrate their fire and destroy both ships. "How long do we need for the evacuation?" Ryan asked. 10 minutes minimum," came the reply from the docking bay supervisor. 12 people plus essential equipment and research data. Ryan studied the tactical display and counted the alien ships moving into attack position. 10 minutes was an eternity in space combat, especially when facing overwhelming odds. But those 12 people had survived alone in the void for weeks waiting for rescue, and he would not abandon them now. "Sophie, defensive fire only," Ryan ordered. "Concentrate on keeping those ships at distance while we complete the evacuation." The Defiance's weapons shifted their targeting pattern, focusing on any alien vessel that came too close to the docked ships. Railgun rounds and plasma torpedoes reached out across the asteroid field, forcing the enemy to maintain their distance while they prepared for their coordinated assault. Dr. Elena Martinez was the last person to leave the research station, carrying a data storage device that contained all their findings about the ancient alien technology. She took one final look at the observation deck where she had spent so many hours watching the alien ships patrol outside, then sealed the hatch behind her and followed the others through the docking tube. The Defiance's evacuation bay was organized chaos as the research team was processed and assigned emergency quarters. Medical Officer Dr. Alex Turner immediately began examining the survivors while other crew members helped them secure their belongings. Elena marveled at the efficiency of the military personnel, who continued their work calmly despite the sounds of weapon fire echoing through the ship's hull. "Evacuation complete," the docking bay supervisor announced. "All personnel are aboard." Ryan felt a moment of relief, but it was quickly replaced by the reality of their situation. Now he had to get 16 people safely out of the asteroid field, while being pursued by alien ships that wanted to prevent any human witnesses from escaping. The enemy vessels were already moving to surround them, cutting off possible escape routes. "Ben, plot a course for the edge of the system," Ryan ordered. "Maximum acceleration as soon as we clear the docking tube." The Defiance separated from the research station and began moving toward open space, but the alien ships immediately moved to intercept. Their beam weapons lit up the darkness as they opened fire from multiple directions, trying to disable the human cruiser before it could escape. The ship's remaining shields flared and sparked under the concentrated assault. Hull breaches on decks 4 and 6. Damage Control Chief Dan Murphy reported, "I'm sealing the compartments, but we're losing atmosphere fast." Ryan watched the tactical display as the alien formation tightened around them. The enemy ships were coordinating their movements perfectly, herding the Defiance toward a trap where they could concentrate all their firepower. But Ryan had been fighting in space for 15 years, and he knew that desperation could sometimes create opportunities that careful planning could not. "Sophie, target the largest asteroid directly ahead of us," Ryan commanded. "Full spread of plasma torpedoes." Sophie looked confused but followed orders, locking her targeting systems onto a massive chunk of rock that floated directly in their path. The plasma torpedoes streaked through space and detonated against the asteroid's surface, cracking it apart and sending thousands of smaller fragments spinning in all directions. "All ahead full, straight through the debris field," Ryan ordered. The Defiance plunged into the expanding cloud of rock fragments, using the artificial meteor shower as cover from alien weapons. The ship's hull rang like a bell as smaller pieces bounced off the armor, but the larger chunks provided protection from enemy beam weapons that could not penetrate solid rock. The alien ships hesitated at the edge of the debris field, unwilling to risk damage to their organic hulls from the flying fragments. That moment of hesitation was all Ryan needed to break free from their encirclement and reach open space beyond the asteroid belt. "We're clear of the immediate threat," Ben announced. "Alien ships are falling behind." But the pursuit was far from over. The enemy vessels regrouped quickly and began following the Defiance toward the edge of the system, their superior speed allowing them to slowly close the distance. Ryan knew that a running battle across interstellar space would favor the aliens, who seemed to have unlimited endurance and firepower. For the next 6 hours, the Defiance fought a desperate running battle as it accelerated toward the system's edge where it could jump to hyperspace. The alien ships pursued relentlessly, their beam weapons reaching out across the void to strike at the fleeing human cruiser. But something had changed in their behavior during the rescue operation. Dr. Elena Martinez noticed it first as she watched the battle from the ship's observation lounge. The alien vessels were approaching more cautiously now, maintaining greater distance and showing obvious respect for human firepower. Where before they had moved with predatory confidence, now they advanced with the wariness of creatures that had learned their prey could fight back. "They're afraid of us," Elena realized as she watched another alien ship fall back after taking railgun hits. They've never faced anything that could hurt them before. The aliens had entered this encounter expecting to deal with helpless humans, but they had discovered something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy. Humanity did not abandon its own, no matter the odds, and human ships would fight through any darkness to answer a call for help. When the Defiance finally jumped to hyperspace with all hands safely aboard, the alien ships remained at the edge of the system, perhaps contemplating what they had learned about this new species. The war that would follow would reshape the galaxy, but it had begun with a simple human principle that no one gets left behind in the void.